Hi everyone, my name is Tessa and today's Tuesday, which means it's time to discuss our book of the week, which is First Time Caller by B K Borison. First, this is a spoiler-free section, so if you haven't read this book yet, don't worry about it, it won't be spoiled for you here. There will be some spoiler-related things I want to discuss, but that'll be later on in the video and you will get plenty of warning. If you'd like to join in on any of the book discussions, send me your thoughts, comments, or even a short video clip of you discussing the book, then I'll list the next upcoming 4 books in the description below. I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a really sweet, light-hearted romance with a funny premise and really easy to read writing. The story is charming, and I think that the author did a great job of writing characters that felt very relatable and likeable, and there is a little bit of spice. However, I think that it worked really well to enhance the story rather than overpower it. It is a bit predictable, however I don't really see that as a flaw in romance. I think that a certain degree of predictability kind of comes with the genre, and I think that that's what makes romance so comforting and fun. I rated this book 4 stars. It didn't quite blow me away the same way as a 5-star read would, however, it was genuinely enjoyable. Okay, so quick summary. First Time Caller follows Aidan, who is a radio host who gives love advice live on air, but he's secretly fallen out of love with love. But things change when a call from a young girl asking for dating advice for her mum Lucy goes viral. Suddenly, Lucy's love life becomes a citywide topic, and Aidan is pulled in to help her navigate the unwanted attention. As the two work together behind the scenes, they start to form a real connection, one with sweet moments and slow burn chemistry that's genuinely charming. If I was to compare this to any other book, I would probably say something like Not in My Book by Katie Holt, or The X Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I think that if you like Ali Hazelwood or maybe even Emily Henry, then you might really enjoy this one. I think that it's light-hearted, accessible, and really sweet. I would say it's a little bit simpler than those books, but probably just as trope-heavy. The characters are easy to like, and the writing is enjoyable and effortless. I think that it's a sweet and charming rom-com that has a nice balance between humour and warmth. I do feel like the story could have gone a little bit deeper in some areas, but at the same time, I honestly don't think it was strictly necessary. I think the book knows exactly what it is. It's light, it's comforting, and it's easy to read. Slightly personal preference-wise, I wished that Aidan was written a little bit more confidently and a little bit more assertive love interest-wise. However, I do think that the way that Aidan was written fit with the overall narrative, and I did still like the characters. Another thing that I really liked was just how grounded the book felt. I mean, it was romantic, cosy, and yes, it was absolutely a little bit cheesy at times. However, the problems that the characters went through didn't feel completely unlikely. And although this is a really sweet romance, it wasn't without substance. There were some really emotional beats. It was subtle, but it had some real depth beneath that rom-com charm. So, as for the question, would I recommend the book? Absolutely, if you want a light, sweet romance that's easy to read and full of charm, then this one is perfect. It's fun, very trope-heavy, and digestible. So, will I be reading any more by B K Borison? Yes, I had a lot of fun with this story, and I would happily pick up more from this author. So earlier on in the video, I said that you'd get plenty of warning for any upcoming spoilers. Now this is that moment, so if you haven't read this book yet, I would suggest going doing that first, because beyond this point there will absolutely be spoilers. One of my favourite things was when we see just how much Aidan was paying attention to Lucy, like her preferences, what her favourite things are, and even keeping note of them. I think it's such a subtle gesture, but says everything about how deeply he cares about Lucy, and I think it works so well in romance books because it says everything about what women want, which is just to be heard, understood, and appreciated for the everyday things. Their chemistry builds slowly but sweetly, and I loved watching Lucy's confidence grow as Aidan sort of learns to open up more emotionally. I think that the miscommunications and the awkward moments didn't feel overly dramatic. They served the story and felt a bit more realistic. Lucy questioning whether or not she's really happy or if she's just sort of stuck in this routine that she never really meant to build. I think that that is quite relatable, especially to people in maybe their 30s plus, and the book explores it in a gentler way rather than making it into some big overly dramatic crisis. I also really appreciated how the story explored the public attention element. Like, again, it wasn't over the top, it was just enough to show you just how uncomfortable it can feel when suddenly a group of strangers have an opinion about your life. Like, it made Lucy feel like a real person who was just thrown into something she never asked for, trying her best to keep her dignity while trying to figure out what it is she actually wants. I also really loved the dynamic of the side characters, her daughter bringing this chaos in the funniest way and her family being supportive yet super nosy. The story does lean quite heavily on some classic romance tropes, the misunderstandings, the will they won't they, the slow realisation of feelings, but I do think it works because the characters were charming and relatable, and I also think that the pacing kept it very light and fun. Watching Lucy navigate this sudden attention and questions about her feelings and opening up to Aiden was very satisfying. I think that their chemistry felt very realistic and tender, and the whole conflict didn't rely on something that was ridiculous or unforgivable. The setup where Lucy was tricked to go on air could have felt very over the top. However, I do think that it worked quite nicely for this book because it explored a lot of the same feelings of fear, exposure, and being pushed out of your comfort zone. And when all the truth comes out, it felt very human. Like, it wasn't overly explosive, it wasn't too soft, it was just messy enough to feel real. And even in those moments where I wanted a slightly more assertive love interest, the story's charm carried it through, and I genuinely enjoyed seeing their relationship develop from start to finish. But let me know what you thought. Did you enjoy the book? Next week we're discussing The Shadows Between Us by Tricia Levenseller, so don't forget to get your thoughts and comments in before Sunday the 30th of November at the latest to be a part of the discussion. You can now do this on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram or Discord. The following week will be Make Me a Monster, but don't forget if you do need a little bit longer to read a book, we do now list the next 4 books down below along with the discussion dates. That way you can choose the genre that best suits you and the best time frame to read it in. Thank you all for joining, and if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, it's always appreciated, and I will see you next week. Bye! If you like romance, fantasy, or even thriller, basically anything fiction book related, then I suggest you head on over to the channel's intro video, where you can find out more information on how you can take part in this online book club. We announce books at least 4 weeks in advance, and we accept your bookish feedback in a wide manner of ways. Post your comment below a video, send in a voice note, or even send me a short video clip of you discussing the book. Alternatively, you can just send me a direct message.